Part of the reason we've managed to make 10 albums without ever chasing superstardom is simple. Bob Seger never tried to be anyone but himself. They called him the voice of the American heartland, the working man's poet who sang about Friday nights, lost dreams, and long roads home. Bob Seger didn't follow trends or try to be cool. He told the truth. His raspy voice, pounding piano, and honest lyrics became the soundtrack to millions of lives. But before the fame, before the anthems, there was just a kid in Michigan, up all night spinning records and dreaming about music. Aerosmith, they were just starting out. Bachman-Turner Overdrive, Kiss, they were just starting too. Seger didn't invent rock and roll, he lived it. Every lyric came from somewhere real, from the diner jukeboxes, the smoky bars, the places where life felt raw and unfiltered. He wasn't chasing art, he was chasing survival. And the albums that shaped him became his foundation. 7 records that weren't just songs, but blueprints on how to make people feel, how to turn 3 minutes of music into a lifetime of memory. Bob Seger studied the greats, then carved his own path. These are the records that built the heartland rocker, that taught him to turn pain into poetry. 7. After School Session, Chuck Berry, 1957. Chuck Berry invented the language of rock before anyone even knew the words. His 1957 album, After School Session, wasn't just a record. It was the instruction manual for everything that came next. Johnny B. Goode told the story every kid with a guitar dreamed about. School Days captured teenage rebellion in 3 sharp chords. Maybelline had that unstoppable rhythm that made you feel alive. Seger grew up on that sound. It was his education. Berry didn't sing about fantasy. He sang about cars, girls, small towns, and the urge to escape. His songs were simple, but perfect, built on truth and rhythm. What Berry taught Seger was how to tell a story, how to take everyday life and make it feel larger than life. Songs like Night Moves, Turn the Page, and Against the Wind, they all carry Berry's DNA. Chuck showed that rock and roll belonged to everyone, not just the rich or the glamorous. Every kid, every waitress, every factory worker had a story worth singing. Seger took that lesson and never let it go. He became Berry's heir without imitation, just honesty. 6. Here's Little Richard, 1957. Little Richard didn't sing, he erupted. His debut album, Here's Little Richard, was pure electricity on vinyl. Tutti Frutti exploded like dynamite. Rip It Up and Ready Teddy demanded movement. You couldn't sit still even if you tried. For Seger, Little Richard was the embodiment of raw freedom. I write too many songs, Seger once laughed, but at least I get to steal from myself. That spirit came straight from Richard. No filters, no fear, just heart and fire. Richard attacked the piano like it was alive, his voice leaping past human limit. He dressed, moved, and sounded exactly how he felt. No apologies. Seger learned from him that authenticity beats everything. The best performances come when you stop pretending and just let go. Every time Seger's voice cracked with emotion or he played till exhaustion on stage, that was Little Richard's legacy. Give it all, hold nothing back. Little Richard didn't just perform, he testified, and Bob Seger carried that same gospel for the rest of his life. 5. Modern Sounds in Country and Western Music by Ray Charles, 1962. In 1962, Ray Charles broke every rule in music. He took country, the most traditional genre in America, and gave it a soul. Modern sounds in country and Western music should have failed. Instead, it changed everything. I Can't Stop Loving You became a timeless hit. You Don't Know Me captured heartbreak so honestly it hurt. Born to Lose turned pain into poetry. When Seger heard it, something clicked. It was the highest Billboard debut I ever had, he once said. It was great. Ray Charles taught Seger that genres are just labels. Good songs don't care what category they're in. Charles took Hank Williams and made him weep differently. He took Nashville and gave it Detroit soul. This gave Seger permission to mix sounds, to blend rock with country, blues with pop, to let Against the Wind sit beside We've Got Tonight without apology. Ray Charles taught him to respect the song, not the style. If it was honest and it moved people, that was enough. 4. Sticky Fingers, The Rolling Stones, 1971. Sticky Fingers was the Stones at their most dangerous and their most brilliant. It opened with Brown Sugar, pure controversy and swagger. Then Wild Horses hit like heartbreak. Can't You Hear Me Knocking jammed for 7 minutes of perfection. This was a band unafraid to go wherever the music took them. Seger admired that confidence. And maybe watching a good movie, he once said, or listening to something new, it keeps you alive. The Stones didn't beg for approval. They played what felt right. There was a toughness in this record that matched Seger's own blue-collar fire. But beneath the grit was heart, real vulnerability. Songs like Dead Flowers and Moonlight Mile showed the balance between rebellion and reflection. From Sticky Fingers, Seger learned that you could be both, strong and sensitive. You didn't have to pick one side. Rock and roll could roar and whisper in the same breath. Audiences would follow you anywhere if you told the truth. 3. The Exciting Wilson Pickett, 1966. If soul ever had a raw heartbeat, it was Wilson Pickett. The Exciting Wilson Pickett was everything the title promised, pure power. In the Midnight Hour grooved with intent. Land of a Thousand Dances forced you to move. 634-5789 made even a phone number sound like joy. Pickett's voice was gravel and gold, rough but full of sweetness. Seger studied that sound like scripture. The growls, the shouts, the whispers, all of it controlled chaos. Pickett sang like every line cost him something, and that's exactly how Seger learned to sing. This was working man's soul. Sweat, truth, and survival. Pickett didn't smooth the edges. He left them jagged and real. Seger connected to that honesty. Wilson Pickett taught him, your voice is your fingerprint. Don't polish it. Let it crack. Let it show the miles you've traveled. Every time Seger sang about the road, you could hear Pickett in the background. Grit turned into glory. 2. Revolver, The Beatles, 1966. By 1966, the Beatles weren't just a band. They were creating the future. Revolver was where everything changed. Eleanor Rigby used strings like a blade. Tomorrow Never Knows sounded like something from another planet. Here, There, and Everywhere was pure beauty. I'm Only Sleeping turned dreams into art. Seger didn't copy their experimentation, but he understood the message, be brave. My idea was to help my local economy, Seger once said, like John did with the farmers. The Beatles showed that you could push boundaries and still reach people's hearts. What struck Seger was their craftsmanship. Every lyric mattered. Every chord had meaning. They made introspection universal. Songs about loneliness and growing older felt revolutionary and familiar all at once. Revolver taught Seger that you could be artistic and successful at the same time. You didn't have to dumb it down. You just had to make it feel true. That's why Night Moves worked. It told real stories with emotion and intelligence, just like Revolver did. Live at the Harlem Square Club, Sam Cooke, recorded 1963, released 1985. This album is pure magic, the greatest live album ever made, according to Seger. Recorded in 1963 but unreleased until 1985, it captured the real Sam Cooke. Raw, sweating, commanding a Florida nightclub like a preacher at the pulpit. Bring It On Home to Me stretched into a soul sermon. Having a party turned into a full-blown celebration. Seger said it best. Face the Promise did really well, went platinum. But this album, it's something else. Cooke didn't just sing, he connected. He whispered, shouted, teased, and preached. The crowd wasn't watching a concert. They were part of a spiritual experience. Seger learned that live music isn't about perfection, it's about connection. Make people feel like you're singing straight to them. Sam Cooke's genius was presence. Every breath mattered. Seger carried that lesson forever. Every time he walked on stage, he aimed to recreate that magic, that moment when music becomes something bigger than sound. Bob Seger never pretended to be anything more than what he was, a Detroit kid who loved great records and learned from the masters. These 7 albums didn't just shape his music, they shaped his soul. From Chuck Berry's storytelling to Sam Cooke's presence, every influence became part of who he was. The Heartland rocker was built on honesty, grit, and songs that mattered. If these stories connect with you, subscribe to Legend Uncovered and join us. Tell us in the comments what albums shaped you. Because the records that change your life never really stop playing.